Hey guys, welcome to the Rodman Summer Art Program. My name is Mr. Cabasa. I am one of the art teachers here at Alliance High School. I'm actually in my classroom. Today, we're going to make a Chinese-inspired landscape using charcoal and a little bit of paint. So the idea of this is it's supposed to look like a traditional Chinese ink drawing. So if you think about like somebody writing a letter way back in the day with a feather and they dip it in a little bottle of ink, well, they actually use that to make artwork. However, it's permanent and it's a little bit messy, so we're going to mimic that style using charcoal. So what we're trying to do here is create some atmospheric perspective. What that means is that as things get further away, they start to blend in with the sky color. So that's why our mountains back here are a very, very light gray. There's some even back here that are almost the same color as the paper, which is our sky color. And as they come down, they get darker and more defined. And then our islands and our tree are really defined. There's some rocks down here that are even darker. So all of that helps create the illusion of space. You know, it's a flat piece of paper, but it looks pretty 3D. All right, so some other things, since it's a Chinese-inspired landscape, are these mountain shapes are kind of unique to areas of China. We call those karst mountains, and what that means is that these mountains are made of materials such as gypsum and dolomite, and these materials erode very easily with the acid found in rain, so you get kind of high peaks and skinny mountains. Some I did make wider, but I'll show you a picture here in the video of what karst mountains actually look like, so you can try to mimic that style. And then lastly, we're going to do our name in some Chinese-inspired letters, and we'll use Google Translate to find what your Chinese name looks like. All right, we'll get started. Hope you have fun.
Okay guys, so for this project, you're going to need a couple pieces of white paper. You're also going to need some charcoal. The kind of charcoal I recommend for this would be either vine or willow charcoal. It blends very easily. You're also going to need something to blend with, so you could either use a tissue or you could use a paper towel. By the way, this is a pre-recorded video that I am doing a voiceover on, so it's a little sped up. You don't have to go as fast as I'm moving. All right, the first piece of paper is going to be a stencil. So what I would like you to do is keep your hands close together and rip out some mountain shapes. You can go up and come back down, do some skinny ones so they look more like that karst mountain shape. You do want a variety though. So you'll notice here, I'm going to use all four sides of that paper and try to make a few different kinds of mountains. Tall and skinny, long and wide. This one has multiple points. All right, so towards the top of your actual artwork page, you're going to pick one of your stencils to start with. Go ahead and break your charcoal into a little bit smaller piece so it's easier to use. All right, here we go. Draw around the outside of your stencil. We're not drawing on the actual artwork yet. Pick where you want to put it, and then take your tissue and you're going to blend that charcoal straight down. So you're dragging it from your stencil onto your paper. Remember, we're trying to play up some atmospheric perspective in here, which means that as things are farther away, they're going to look like a lighter gray. So that's why my first mountain is so faint. Now this one, I'm going to overlap over top of that mountain and try to make just a little bit darker. Notice how this mountain, I'm not overlapping the one I just made. So it tucks in behind right there. So basically, I just keep picking different mountain shapes and going around and filling in the area. Now here, I started drawing onto the actual paper and the stencil. The reason you would want to do that is if you want to get a darker mountain, which you might need to do towards the bottom of your paper. The darker mountains go towards the bottom, lighter mountains go towards the top. Alright, so we have about 2/3 of the paper full of mountains. The bottom third, we're going to add some water and some islands and a tree. So starting with the water, take a somewhat small piece of charcoal and use it on its side, and you want to fill in the area with horizontal strokes. Try to keep the top somewhat straight so that it looks more realistic. Blend that out. What I'm doing here is drawing an island. So to make this look realistic, you want to keep it somewhat flat on the top. It can have some spots that go in and out. And I put another one on the other side, so I almost have like a river or stream that opens up into a bigger body of water. Now use the charcoal on its side and fill in that area. This doesn't have to be perfect because you are going to blend that out. Okay, now take the charcoal and you're going to put some dark lines on the edges of the island that are facing you. This is kind of acting like shading to make the island look more 3D. It helps it look like it's sitting on top of the water. Once again, black lines on the sides that are facing you. Do not do it all the way around the island or else it ruins the illusion of it looking 3D. Now, if you want to leave your artwork like this, it looks great. However, if you want to go one step further, we can add a tree in. So because it's a Chinese-inspired landscape, I'm going to add a bonsai type tree, which if you've never seen one, they often have curvy or wavy branches and tree trunks. Every tree looks different, so don't stress about it. I kind of just start making some lines and see where it takes me. I don't have an exact idea of how it's going to look before I start making it. To do the leaves, I'm using a small piece of charcoal on its side, and I'm just kind of making figure 8 marks or circles with my hand, and I blend them slightly. Alright, if you want, you could add more trees here. You could go back and add some more mountains. You could add a bridge in the background or a waterfall. You could be as creative as you want. However, for mine, I'm going to leave it how it is, and I'm going to put some letters of my name going down it. So for this next step, you're going to need a brush, and you're going to need a little bit of black paint. Now, you could use any device of your choice and use Google Translate to look up your name. I printed it off so you can see it here, and you'll notice that I ended up with these 4 Chinese characters using traditional Chinese lettering. Now, these letters are kind of boring because Google gives them to you in just straight lines. Traditional Chinese brushwork would have different line weights, so some spots of the letter would be thicker and some spots would be smaller based on how you taper off with the brush. So don't feel like it has to look like a robot did it. Make it look more authentic by pressing harder in certain areas and using flicking motions as you do this. It's easier if you break the letters down into just one line at a time. So I'm looking at the page off to the side and just going one line at a time and making quick marks, which gives me a dry brush look and also thick spots and thin spots. Okay, that completes this art lesson. I hope you guys had a lot of fun making a Chinese-inspired landscape. Some key points to remember: if you want to make something look really far away, make it look more gray, like the color of the sky, and make your darker stuff towards the bottom. That's called atmospheric perspective. All right, guys, have a great summer. Thank you.